And guys, what is going on? This is the Club of the Man 1993 back up here again for another live review. This time I want to talk about this week's episode of NXT UK, the March 6th, 2019 edition that took place at the Coventry Skydome in Coventry or Coventry, England, whatever heck it's pronounced. Of course, I say Skydome, I think of Toronto at first, but we're back out in England though after a couple weeks of having shows in at the Royal Rumble Access Phoenix Convention Center in Phoenix, Arizona. And overall, an alright episode, a little inconsistent though. Most of the matches on this episode are kind of like, squash matches and stuff that's not really going to lead to much for really many people down the line, I feel, in my opinion. I mean, one, maybe yes. The other one, they were what they were, but the main event I thought was pretty awesome. Like, it's definitely, like a takeover worthy match. I definitely thought so as well. And of course, we got a big tag team match announced for next week also. And wondering where this is going to lead for sure, definitely with the people who are involved with it, but definitely a very interesting match set up for next week for sure. And we also got teased we're probably going to get next for the NXT women's title pick, the NXT UK women's title picture as well, now that Toni Storm has moved on from Rhea Ripley. And it looks like Rhea Ripley might be getting some more time in this regular NXT. We'll have to wait and see though. So let's get started here. The first match was a rematch between Ligero and Joseph Connors. Again, Joseph Connors was teamed up with Saxon Huxley at the beginning of NXT UK, and then he's entered this feud with Ligero, kind of pulling off, the Cassius Ohno storyline of these, shiny new toys that he's just gonna, run right through. I guess it is what it is, but I don't find it as interesting as I did with Cassius Ohno, and I just don't find Joseph Connors as interesting. And Ligero's a good talent too, but he's just there putting on stuff that's like, it happens, okay, he wins, but then what's next? Or most of the people like, Jordan Devlin or Joe Coffey have defeated him to move on to getting a NXT UK championship match. But Connors targeted Ligero's back that apparently has been nagging him with injuries for most of the opening, but Ligero finally turned things around when he connected with a stunner after a reversal in the corner. He kicked out of a vicious DDT and modified facebuster, but then he pinned Connor's shoulders to the mat with a unique pinfall victory. After the match, though, Ligero offered a handshake. Connor looked like he was going to accept it first, but then he just brushed it past him instead, and he walked away. Again, not a bad match between these two again, but it's just some of these talents, just doesn't really feel, like it's really doing much for them though. Like, and this is two people I feel like, they're not really getting much right now. Put on solid matches, but at the end, it's like these guys are not too bad, but now what? Like, where do they go here? So again, it kind of feels like just like, just not a squash match. It's like, just like, a match to build up some new stars, which, is good to have, but right now with Walter and the main event scene and whatnot, and these guys aren't really involved in tag teams. Like, okay, what's really next for these guys, So decent start of the show here. I know at one point in the show, we did have an interview with Toni Storm backstage, who was basically, just saying how, like, she's gone past Rhea Ripley and she doesn't know what's next for her in NXT UK. But she's ready for whoever's going to come her way. But then following that, when she walked away, over her shoulder, we see Jinny looking on the background, which obviously she feels like she's the next contender to be built up to face Toni Storm. Although I want to see Toni Storm have a lengthy title reign, and right now of all the people, I feel like Jinny would be the one most qualified to definitely dethrone her. But, I feel as it could be a little too soon for them to start feuding. But then again, who else is really going to feud with her right now? You know what I mean? At least, like, Isla Dawn got somewhat built up for, a brief little program for Rhea Ripley to work before she feuded with Toni Storm for TakeOver Blackpool. So we'll see where this goes, of course, but I'm pretty sure we're going to be getting a match down the line here soon with Toni Storm and Jinny. They did have a good match in the semifinals of the Women's Championship tournament back in October. I thought it was pretty solid between the two of them. So we'll see what they can do, of course, when they have a championship match sometime down the line. The second match was Sam Stoker and Lewis Hawley taking on Fabian Eichner and Marcel Barthel. This was almost a long but fun squash match for the European Union, which again I keep putting over as definitely being one of my favorite upcoming teams. They're two big powerhouses. Of course, I feel like most of the time I feel like Fabian Eichner gets most of the attention with this team, but I still think they're definitely a lot of fun to watch for sure. Eichner has shown off his strength multiple times with multiple power moves. But then Stoker and Howley briefly rallied during a spell of dominance against Marcel Barthel in the corner, but it didn't last long though, as Eichner soon gained control again for his team with an incredible stalling suplex slam on Howley, and then Barthel hit a double team uppercut from the top rope, and after a little confusion over who the legal man was, unfortunately, they get the pinfall victory. They're definitely future tag team champions in NXT and NXT UK. They could be, definitely champions for the main roster. They're definitely, these two have very impressive and have a lot of, potential for sure. Because I'm not disappointed. I look forward to definitely seeing, where higher up, these two can get further down the line. We also got a backstage segment with the Coffee Brothers accusing Pete Dunne and Walter of taking food off their table, reiterating that UK is Gallus's kingdom. They asked for, and then of course, Walter was then asked for a response, but he refused to comment. We still have not heard Walter speak yet. And later was shown what Pete Dunne had to say at some type of a press conference and whatnot. But it was confirmed later that next week's main event is going to be a tag match with the Coffee Brothers taking on the team of Pete Dunne and Walter, which I'm very interested to see how this match goes for sure. As we could be seeing the pairing of a possible future UK Championship match, and where a lot of people are still predicting that Pete Dunne will be the one. Walter will be the one to dethrone Pete Dunne in that UK title match. We then had Nina Samuels taking on Charlie Morgan. It was just a short, brief match just to, give Samuels a win. The first week, she was kind of being the one who was, there just to eat pins and put people over. But now she's gaining some victory, and she's hyping up the Nina Samuels. So kind of a little more of like a gimmick. So maybe, I know I said before that, Jenny, I feel maybe the person to dethrone Tony Storm, but maybe Nina Samuels is going to be just like a little bit like a roadblock or something like that, even though they haven't really built her up that as well as they built up Isla Dawn, I felt, before she got a shot at Rhea Ripley, or even like Deonna Purrazzo got one, which we haven't seen her since they had the match with Tony Storm recently. Although I still feel maybe, there may be another idea for who can dethrone Tony Storm, since Kaylee Ray is apparently going to be debuting next week also in NXT UK, and she was in the Mae Young Classic, had a good showing. So we'll see what happens for sure. Just a squash match for Nina Samuels. Finally, we get our main event, which was pretty darn awesome. It was the Kiwi Buzzsaw Travis Banks taking on the Irish Ace Jordan Devlin in a Falls Count Anywhere match. I've really enjoyed this feud, definitely, with basically Jordan Devlin, he represents his country well out of everyone. Of course, he said that, and he took out Travis Banks for their match at TakeOver Blackpool. Just a substitute for him to have the match with Finn Balor. That was pretty awesome. Again, that happened on the correct show. Again, if that was on the main roster, it would not have been as good of a match as it was at TakeOver Blackpool. But I personally liked, again, this match got to an early start, brawling outside of the ring. Travis Banks leaped from the top of an area into the stands around 12 feet high. He took out Devlin on the arena floor. He maintained control until Devlin countered a dive through the ropes with a chair shot to the shoulder. The crowd began to mock Devlin, saying, "Your head's too big for you," or something like that, which, was pretty fun. Again, the UK crowds always come up with some creative chants, although, of course, the United States crowds don't know these guys as well. So, the chants are not really there. And we're getting the massive head chants also. Banks has set up a table ringside before inadvertently drop kicking Devlin to the referee, who fell outside, and then he would hit his Kiwi Crusher finisher. He pinned Devlin for like a 12 count, but the official was out. Devlin then landed a moonsault, and the ref returned for a 2 count. And at the end, Banks repeatedly stomped on Devlin's left knee against the steel steps, kind of similar to how, Devlin injured Banks' leg before Banks locked in an ankle lock, but Devlin just escaped, and it looked like that Banks was setting up to hit the Kiwi Crusher again on Devlin, except through the table. But this time, Devlin countered. He had a nice-looking Spanish fly to pick up the victory as they landed both through the table, and that was how he pinned him. This was probably for sure one of the best main events for sure NXT UK has had so far. There was a lot of great long-term storyline with this feud, an unbreakable finish, and Banks had a reason to feel aggravated due to the referee, though, being out during that, when he had pinned him with the Kiwi Crusher. This was definitely a takeover worthy match for sure, and these two put on a show. I just still feel bad that Travis Banks lost, though. It's like this guy can't catch a break. He's losing for a good reason, though, but it's like he needs that big victory. But they've really built him up as probably one of the bigger ultimate underdogs. I mean, I thought it was still be like, Mark Andrews being like, the ultimate underdog for NXT UK, but, he's picked up some wins here and there, and he's had a few losses. But I still feel, Travis Banks is like the ultimate underdog now, and hopefully someday he can have that underdog story and become United Kingdom champion for sure. But yeah, so Jordan Devlin gets his victory. I was a little surprised he won again, but, we'll see where they go from here. And that was NXT UK, everybody. I'll give it a B again. The main event was awesome. The rest of the stuff, the tag team squash match with European Union, I thought was fun. Nina Samuels match was meh. And then, of course, Joseph Connors and El Guerreros was good for what it was. But again, we're next. Just a B for NXT UK, guys. I'll try to be back here again live in an hour for review NXT. Leave us down in the comment section below. Slap a like on the video. Subscribe to content on my channel. Follow me on Twitter at DemandAirbrine3. And I'll see you guys shortly for my NXT live reviews. So until then, guys, peace out, everybody.